And we're live, I think. Okay, so welcome to the Q&A session, I guess, for my new ebook called Teach Yourself to Code. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. I just published it yesterday, so I'm new at this thing. Yeah, so first of all, I just want to share why I wrote this book. Okay. I started teaching myself how to code last April is when I started. And it's when you're just starting out, at least when I was just starting out, I was looking for a curriculum. I was looking for something to help me just basically hold my hand that I could follow step by step so I could learn what I needed to learn to get a job. And be pretty good at what I did too. Was another desire. And it's great that there are so many resources out there. It's great. But sifting through them all was a little overwhelming, and knowing what to learn when, etc. So basically, my own experience was a little hodgepodge, this way, that way, all over the place, learning things. And this book is intended, what I intend in this book is to make it easier for people like me, basically. So I take, from my experience learning how to code, I take all the best resources that I found, that I used, and also chronologically. So I'm sharing my experience, what I did, but also what I wish I had done as well. So just an example, like I didn't discover video tutorials until like 10 months? No, not 10 months, more like 8 months after I had started learning. Like that's a long time. I didn't do any video tutorials during that time. And when I finally started doing them, I was doing free code camp and reading articles and different things. But when I discovered video tutorials, they helped me in so many ways. And so in other words, like in this book, that's not going to happen to you if you follow it. You're going to have Code Academy, Free Code Camp, Academind, Traversy Media, the Net Ninja, all my favorite resources, and kind of walking through them. I even put like time estimates, like how long each task will take. Wait, I'm not calling them tasks. I'm calling them action items. Like every chapter has action items for you to complete. And some of them are tutorials or exercises, etc. But there are other ones too, which were vital to my learning how to code and to my getting a job, which includes being very active on social media. That's how I got all my opportunities, all my job leads and my actual job as well. So yes, being active on social media is something that I also emphasize in this book, right alongside actually learning the developer skills and using real developer tools. Like, for example, if I had just been following Free Code Camp, I wouldn't have been using Visual Studio Code or Git and GitHub and all these real developer tools. I was lucky because I had my husband, who he had actually been to a boot camp, and he went ahead of me in terms of learning web development. So he was here to give me tips and tricks and saying, no, you need to learn to use Visual Studio Code, Git and GitHub, et cetera, et cetera. And speaking of boot camps, I would say that this, I guess I kind of intended as a do-it-yourself boot camp, like a do-it-yourself from home boot camp using mostly free resources that you can find online. And actually, when you add up all the hours, like I did little hourly estimates of each action item, like I said, and it amounts to like 500 hours, which is equivalent to like a boot camp. Now, I will say, I do want to say that the emphasis is on the front end. You know, there's a little bit of the back end. You'll build an API using Node.js, MongoDB, etc. But it's just following a tutorial, just so you get a taste of what it's like and get familiar with it. And I have found that extremely helpful in terms of collaborating with back-end developers, and even just understanding what's going on the back end. Because as a front-end engineer, you have to know what's happening on the back end, even if you're not writing it yourself. So anyway, I've learned a lot this past year. Let's put it that way. And this is my way of just passing it along to others who are in the position I was in and are lost and want some direction. So that's why I wrote the book, and that's basically what it is and what it's about. For the people here, are there any specific questions you have about the book, like the content, format, there's all kinds of different things that could be asked, I suppose. I didn't put the link to the book in the description. I'll do that after this. I suppose I put it right here in the chat if you are interested. But it was kind of fun writing it. Like, my goodness, I've never written a book before. I mean, I've written a lot, like for school or for fun or different things. And obviously on LinkedIn and Twitter and such. But I published a book, guys. Like, it's a real book that people can buy, that people are buying. Like, this is crazy. Like, today, it's just open for pre-orders right now. And, because I've been watching how other developers do it, and there's always like a pre-order phase where the price is a little lower, and then there's released, and that's a different price, et cetera, et cetera. Just doing what I see other people doing, I guess. But like, this is the first day it's been out. I mean, for pre-orders. And it's like 18 people have bought it. Like, whoa, I would have been happy if like 1 or 2 people had bought it. Like, this is amazing. So let's see. And also, I basically tried putting in there what I would have liked if I had gotten a book early on in the game. And so at the very end, I also have like just a checklist of all the different action items with the estimated time, because I love seeing progress, like that's one of the things I enjoyed about Free Code Camp, Code Academy, etc. Is that as you finish the exercises, you see the little check marks and you're like, yeah, I'm making progress. It's not on Amazon. It's just on Gumroad right now. So yeah, I haven't looked into Amazon. Maybe I could look into that too. I don't know if you can publish on multiple platforms. That might be a good idea, I guess. Yeah, I've never looked into publishing on Amazon. This was just recommended to me, so that's what I used. Actually, and my husband worked on the front cover, and it looks so, I like the way it turned out. It makes me want to like buy a physical version of the book so that I can have it on my shelf and say, there's my book. It's kind of fun. Anyway, yeah, you're welcome. And let's see. And you know what? I've seen that there are other people who are self-taught developers who are doing the same thing that I'm doing. So pretty soon there's going to be a lot of great resources, more great resources out there for people who want to teach themselves how to code. Is a free preview available? Let's see. There wasn't a place to do a free preview on Gumroad. I wrote a pretty good description on there. Like if you check out that link, I wrote a pretty thorough description, but there wasn't a place to do a free preview. I suppose that is more of an Amazon thing, which, yeah, I'll look into that after this, because being on 2 platforms wouldn't be bad. Oh man, what was something else I was gonna talk about? I talked about how it's mostly focused on front-end development. Yeah, you're welcome. And then the reason for that Well, the reason that I focused on front end development is because I got to the point where I had worked through JavaScript, React, Redux, and it was time, according to some other curriculums, it was time to move to the back end to be a full stack developer. Um, and at that point in the game, I didn't feel good about moving to a new technology, to a new thing yet, until I was more comfortable, more proficient with what I already knew, JavaScript, React, and Redux. So I decided to just kind of get a taste of the back end by building my own API, like I said, but then to just really focus on the front end. And I'm so glad I did. Now I got my first full paying job a month ago. um, and just based on the work I've done since I was hired, it I think I'm more mid-level developer. Actually, I'm working very independently. They're just giving me things to do, and I'm doing them. And it, my experience, I mean, just based on what I've heard about junior developers, friends of mine who have been junior developers and their experience, it sounds like I'm more like a mid-level almost for my first job. But that's because I held off for a long time too, because I wasn't ready for just a foot in the door kind of internship or something, and because of the global pandemic, right? All the hiring freezes and stuff. So that was another change in plans. And that's another thing I emphasize in the book too, is flexibility and adaptability based on your lifestyle, your schedule. Basically, you're responsible for your own learning. I'm just providing the guidance and resources, right? So some people might really be able to make it like an immersive boot camp thing where if you don't have another job, other responsibilities, who knows how quickly you could go through this, 500 hours. How long can you do that? How long will it take? For me, I did more of a part-time, stay-at-home mom, homeschooling 4 kids, right? So I did like between 3 to 6 hours a day. 6 was like the high end, for like 6 days a week for like a year, and you could do more, you could do less, right? And I also did all kinds of side projects and such. And I also include doing projects in this book. There's different times when you're going to build your own projects. You're going to build your own portfolio and include those projects. You're going to share those projects on social media, because that was my whole strategy. As a self-taught developer, you're not going to look good on paper. And this is something I learned from applying for jobs. It's like, I don't have any kind of certificate or professional experience, etc., all this stuff. So I was dependent on making myself known who I was and what I could do and letting the opportunities come to me, which is what happened. I got my first freelance opportunity about, a year after I started learning is when I got my first freelance opportunity. And after that, it was just more opportunities. So until my full-time job. So let's see. Are there more questions about the book or other things? We don't just have to talk about the book, about my experience or background, or how about you guys? What are you learning? What stage are you at in your learning journey? Are you just thinking about getting into it, or are you in the middle of it, or what's going on here? Oh, and I thought about that too. Is like, it's not necessarily for people who are just starting either. Like if I was like halfway through my experience, like if I was already on JavaScript or something, and I picked up this book, it would still be really helpful to see like the things that like, for example, if I had been working through Free Code Camp and I had already finished the JavaScript section, well, what doesn't Free Code Camp not include? It doesn't include Visual Studio Code or Git and GitHub. It doesn't include JavaScript interacting with the DOM, or JavaScript fetching data from an API and working with it. I mean, even the JavaScript section is just algorithms and data structures, which is great foundational knowledge, but you need to know what to do with it too, right? So I included that in there. And yeah, so it's one of those things where just one resource, I don't know of one resource out there that is totally comprehensive and will take you from beginning to end. I don't know of one. If someone else knows of one, please make it known to people. I will gladly spread the word. But that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this book. So anyway, the release date is Tuesday, I think, Tuesday morning. So, okay, I'm interested in web development. What would you recommend as the first place to start? Zero knowledge of the field, but I do have motivation. Yes. Great. Motivation is key. And a lot of people have asked me, even from the beginning, like, how do I stay motivated? And it is a big struggle. Like, a lot of people start out trying to teach themselves because it's free, right? Why would you pay thousands of dollars to go to a boot camp if you can learn for free online, right? Well, motivation is one of the things. And that is one of the great things about boot camps. That's why I was very tempted to go to the boot camp, is because it's this package deal. You've got teachers, you've got other students learning with you, you've got the projects and the deadlines and the certificate, the graduation at the end, and just it helps stay motivated to be part of something like that, right? So how did I stay motivated? I kind of include tips for staying motivated. I do include tips for strategies to stay motivated in the book because it's so important. But you say you are already motivated, so you're way ahead. And you know, the first place I started and the first place I recommend started, if you've literally not done anything in web development ever, is the free courses on Code Academy is where I started. And they don't cover a whole lot, but the format and the explanations are very good to give you a taste of what web development's all about, what it feels like doing it. So there's a little freebie. You start with Code Academy. HTML, CSS is the beginning. Actually, I started with a little bit of JavaScript because that's what I was excited to get into. But then the recommendation was to do HTML and CSS first. So then I somewhat grudgingly went to that instead. But it's good because it's like the bones of web development before you add the muscles of JavaScript. Oh, that's funny. So you're learning JavaScript from Free Code Camp and WesBoss. Yeah, I did WesBoss right after the Free Code Camp. And he's actually included the 30 app challenge. Is that what you're talking about? 30 apps in 30 days? Because that's a pretty well-known one. And I included that. I actually include it after a different one, which is kind of an introduction to working with the DOM with JavaScript. Because when I tried going through WesBoss, it was a little bit too fast, a little bit too over my head. I had to watch it slower, like at 0.75 speed, and pause it frequently, you know? And so from that, I gathered that it was probably intended for people who had actually worked with the DOM before with JavaScript, at least a little bit. So that's why I put another kind of intro to using JavaScript with the DOM resource in there before moving on to WesBoss, because he actually puts in, you through the 30 app challenge, you get to see so much of what JavaScript can do, just so many fancy tricks, which actually helps you out later in the game. I'm just telling you the whole book right now. But that's okay. That's okay, because mostly the reason I did this was just to help people. I mean, yeah, just to help people, because everyone was asking me after I got my job and had made it, basically, help. How did you do it? How can I do it? And so this is my response. Here it is. This is all the advice I can give you, all my experience in one little package. So here you go. Let's see. Oh, Westboss has a beginner JavaScript course. There we go. Going through that and then tackle his JS 30. And his course does go pretty fast. Yeah, it does. Okay, well, there you go. See, that's the thing. And I didn't know that. So like I said, there's so many resources out there. And if you might find better ones that I included. These are just the best ones that I used, that I came across. And essentially, every developer is self-taught. Even if you go to a boot camp, even if you go to school, you are responsible for understanding things, for putting them into practice. Yeah, every developer is self-taught in a certain sense. So yeah, thanks for telling me. He's got an intro to JavaScript course. All these people out there, they've created so much great content for us to help us. And it's just amazing. I'm just so glad they're doing this, definitely. Hey, I'm doing it too now. Yes. We'll see if I end up doing more in the future. We'll see. Maybe I'll be one of those people who everyone's like, yeah, Martha Sharp has a great course on this. Love it. Go check it out. That'd be kind of fun. I don't know if I'm not at that level yet. Like all my favorites are still way, way, way ahead of me. But if I really end up doing this as a long-term career, which it looks like I'm pretty serious about it. It totally could happen. Let's see, what time are we at? Oh, hey, we're still doing good. I'm just afraid of going really long in these things because I like to talk. I don't know if you noticed that, but awesome. Well, are there any other questions? I think I could wrap it up here quick, but unless there are questions. If there's questions, I won't wrap it up. I'll keep answering questions for a few minutes here. But this is really exciting, guys. And someone asked me, like, how are you doing this? You know, you've got 4 kids, you've got a new job, and now you're writing it. You just published an ebook and stuff. And it's amazing to me too. You know, it's just like, is this really happening? What am I doing here? But I thought about it, and I think the key is just not to think about it too much and just do it. Just start doing stuff. I spent a lot of my life just thinking about things and dreaming about things, but then like second guessing or not willing to take the risk or whatever it is, and just started to start doing things. And I guess once you start, you just keep doing things. So there you go. Thanks, Dimitri. Thanks for coming. I haven't seen any dances from you lately. Love those dances. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining me. Yep, I'll do more posts and stuff when the book is actually released. And if you end up buying it, I want to hear reviews, especially from people who actually used it. You know, I want to know if it's good or if it needs to be changed in any way, and more resources like the one you were talking about. So that's great. All right. Good night, everyone.